FM. Please come get ready for Good Morning Soapstone with your host, Lolly D, with her guest, guest host, Unemployed Alcoholic.
Hi, guys. Aaron is here. There he is. All right. We are both here today.
All right, everybody.
We're having those fun Horizon challenges today that we always have. I can never sit in my chair, but yeah, you might have noticed that we're spread out over a couple instances. Hey, it's okay. Everybody will catch up. We'll get here. Welcome, everybody. And you can see I have a different co-host today. Somebody that wandered into the Soapstone this morning. We were talking and he said, hey, I know you're short a co-host today and I do have some stage experience. So we're going to give him a try. What do you guys think? Should we try him out? See how he does. Yeah, let's encourage him. How you doing, Aaron?
Encouragement.
He's encouraged. He's encouraged. Yes.
I do. I feel like I can do this.
You do it?
I think so.
We talked briefly this morning. I was a little nervous, but
I'm a little
you sound all right.
Yeah. Well, and to tell you the truth, you always have this calming sense, but when it came to co-hosting with you, like you laid the law down.
Yeah, he was shaking. Anyway,
a lot of pressure. Has anybody been on stage with Lolly D in the past? The Nuke, Sturm has once or twice. Yeah, Alma Jean, boy, that hand's way up in the air back there.
Speaking of Sturm, you guys, is going to step up. He's going to become the host of the sound check, and let me tell you, he's doing a great job. So, if on Friday afternoon at 2 Eastern, y'all are hanging out looking for something fun to do, come to the Soapstone for the sound check. And Sturm's doing pretty good. He's handling that job really well. So we're looking forward to him hosting. That's good.
Yeah.
So
I know I've said this before. Sturminator is one of the folks that I have just been so fortunate to watch grow in the metaverse. When he first came in, he was just kind of observing. And then I've seen this guy get involved in more and more stuff throughout. And I think they're going to have to rename the metaverse the Sturmiverse.
Right? No kidding. Hey, if you're ever looking for worlds or people, this is your guy. He knows everybody. And if I can't get a hold of him, I said, Sturm, I've been trying to get a hold of this guy for 2 weeks. 10 minutes later, Sturm says, they're going to call you. So, like, okay.
Yeah.
So he's your guy for connections too. He's really good. Aaron's been away for a couple weeks. If you guys did notice, he really was on vacation, even though he came in here occasionally. So Aaron, you might want to tell him where you've been for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
getting sunburned.
If it looks like I've got a little bit of a sunburn, I was in Hawaii for a couple of weeks, which was really fun. It was nice. My wife and I got to go. That's the longest vacation that the two of us have ever taken together, and would recommend. Not necessarily you with my wife, but you with any significant other that might be in your life.
J'étais exactement en train de penser à la même chose, d'ouvrir un party avec toi pour qu'on puisse discuter sans déranger tout le monde.
It was a wonderful trip. It took us a while. It took us probably a week to get past like being busy doing vacation. And then we had a week of a much slower paced time.
L'employé alcoolique au chômeur, l'alcoolique au chômage, il revient de vacances.
That is nice. That's a good way to do it. You get kind of the touristy things and then just kind of relax now. You got it all the way and now you can enjoy the nature. And that's kind of good. That's good.
6-hour time change, though. That was a lot to get used to. It was like we got about 30 years older as soon as we got off the plane. In fact, our first night there, we're at this resort, and right out our lanai window is the big pool area and all that. And we got there, had dinner, went to bed, and then in the middle of the night, I wake up and there's kids just screaming out by the pool. So I jumped up. I was going to go give them the what for. And on the way to the door, I happened to catch a glance of the clock, and it was 9:30 p.m. So not really what I could do to go yell at them. So
no, probably not a good idea. Well, well, on Friday, Aaron is going to be in the Well Metaverse show, and he's going to be talking a little bit more about Hawaii because our guest on Friday is going to be Blades. 808, if you guys know Blades, he's one of the really very reserved builders in the metaverse, but he's a native Hawaiian. He built a piece of Hawaii. He's a really fun guy one-on-one, but this can be interesting to see him in an interview. So I'm excited for that because he's a great person. So we'll talk more about Hawaii on Friday.
Yeah. That'll be a good thing. There's also I'm having a stroke.
I know, I saw that. Did you guys see that right there? If this is too much for you, Aaron, Elma can sit in if this is a little too much for you.
Yeah. I'm so nervous. Yeah. Hey, speaking of the man.
All right. There's Cal. He managed to get in here and check us out today. Hey, Cal. Yeah, his work schedule's all screwy again. So, anyway, he's gonna be.
I saw the yellow arrow over his head. Anybody who's a producer in here knows what that means. You guys don't have to kick out Cal. He's fine.
Yeah, we'll let him stay. We'll let him stay for a while. Anyway, well, we're really happy everybody's here, and we're kind of excited about our guest today. He's a very interesting person. He's got a lot going on in here, and you guys know we like to talk to people here that do different things. I mean, we always talk to great builders, and he actually is really good at that too. But he's just a very interesting guy, and I wanted him to come and say hello to us. So Berry, can you come on up? BerryBerryNice.
Yeah, give it up.
Welcome to Good Morning Soapstone. Hey. Yes, all right.
Welcome to the show, man.
Good
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a seat. Hi, Berry. Good to see you.
Whoa, an audience. That's great. Thank you. What an honor it is to be here.
Yeah, it's one of the three things that we need for a successful talk show: an audience, a host or two, and a great guest.
Yes.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And Berry, I mean, when you and I first met, I think it was you met me somewhere and started talking about one of your musical instruments, and you took me to a room to show me this guitar. And then I was like, this is really cool. You could play this guitar. And that's kind of your thing, right? That your main thing, am I getting that wrong? That you brought music instruments into the metaverse in one way or another?
Initially, I wanted to build 737 airplanes. And so I started detailing them, but then somebody came up with an idea of creating some musical notes on a scale, and I asked that person who's Venture 667 if he could make it just a little bit different so that I could do some modification to it, and he did, and so I was able to create the Verytron, which was the first instrument that I made. And then after that, I realized that sound was such an integral part of what was going on, or what was missing within Horizon Worlds. And at that time, there wasn't very many options.
Right.
That's super interesting that you did that transition.
Would you guys mind if I traded places with you? Because it's really awkward to have to move my head back and forth.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We're doing musical chairs. Anybody else want to swap it
sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. No, that's fine. You're good.
Yeah, that's
anyway.
great.
Go ahead.
That's great.
Sorry.
Do you want to change chairs too, or?
We could do that. Let's change chairs too. I think that.
You guys could just sit together. Sure.
Oh, we could just sit on the couch. Maybe we'll do. Or do you want to sit with me in the chair? We could do that. We could both sit in. Yeah, no, that works. We're just
musical chairs.
This is what happens when you come to a comedy club.
It is a comedy club. I understand.
Oh, I'm actually stuck.
Oh no. The show's going to have to be with Aaron up in the sign.
Do the glitch.
Now my neck is really getting strained.
That is funny, Aaron. See, this is the metaverse. Welcome to Horizons, where crazy stuff happens. Berry, while Aaron's trying to get himself out from embedded in the sign, Berry, what was the reason for your name? Where did you come up with BerryBerryNice?
For sure. So I come from another world where people are not always nice, and that just led me to want to be a different person in the metaverse. And in Horizon Worlds, there was an opportunity to create my own identity, and I thought, well, if I had nice in my name, it would be good. And then I remembered a friend of mine who used to constantly say very, very nice. And so I decided, well, Berry Nice, that would be it. So that's where
There
it
you
came
go.
from. And it seems to have worked. People remember the name
They do.
sometimes before they remember me. So that's good. Yeah.
Somebody asked me yesterday,
is
is
good.
it Berry Nice or Berry Nice? I said, well, it's Berry Nice. And they said, well, why does he need the extra berry? I said, well, you need to ask him because I don't know why he wants that extra berry.
And that was just that having the extra one in there just as a reinforcement. And I walk into a room and people read my name out loud all the time. So
Yeah.
He's
Well,
Berry Nice.
Yeah, and do people ask you what it's about or what's the story behind
sometimes, yeah. And unfortunately, because I'm a little bit older, my stories tend to drag on. So before they wander away, I usually get to the end of the story. So.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I don't ever make it to the end of my story. I never get there. So I'm in awe that you can get people to stay to the end of your story.
Yeah, I don't ever make it to the end of my.
Yeah, he doesn't make it to the end of his own
No,
stories.
I think yours. You probably have the best name in all of Horizon Worlds, actually.
It's funny because I mean this is a very powerful name as far as people asking questions about it and that. And like my email address is Aaron at the Unemployed Alcoholic, which that anytime I share that email address with somebody like that, it 100% of the time starts a conversation. But yeah, I do remember when I first came into virtual reality, somebody came up to me and was like, "Ooh, you're going to want to change that name because you don't want people to associate that with you." And I'm like, "No, that's actually." The story behind that name, the story of finding purpose.
What? Oh no! Aaron got banned. He'll be back. He'll be back. We won't worry about him. Okay. All right. So yes, as we that are producers here all know Aaron's story of how he got the name, and it was about him being in that position and turning it all around through the metaverse. So and also being a stand-up comedian. So if he comes back, he'll continue it. But if he got banned.
That was so funny.
I don't know. That's what happened when someone got banned. They disappeared right off the stage.
I was gonna say that's exactly what that is. It's.
Oh, there he is.
That's what I was gonna say. Like
that was strange.
Which is so weird.
That was funny.
Aaron, it didn't even.
Right when you were getting to the punchline, we're like, "Oh, he got banned."
Yeah. I teleported away just right back in here. That was
how funny is that? Yeah.
So to your point, I think the fact that we get to reinvent ourselves as we want to be is actually kind of a blessing. I'm now my 33-year-old self, and that's why I look like an 80s porn star. But
and were you an 80s porn star at 33?
I can't talk about that. There's a restriction
due
on
to the
amount
settlement.
Of
You can't.
But the films are available. No, I'm just kidding.
just don't Google BerryBerryNice.
Well, no, it's the other name that.
Okay, all right.
Anyway,
that other name.
That is a joke, and no, I wasn't a porn star, but.
Good.
So Berry, the thing that was so interesting about you to me is that you have all these talents. You are a musician. You bring your musical knowledge in, and it's evident in the worlds that you have. But you also have an art side, right? And that's also includes a lot of photography. So I'm going to let you decide where, because you have so much information going on and so many things. Yeah. Where do you want to start with explaining all that?
Oh, so one of the things about, I'm not a game player, and I guess that would probably come as a surprise to a lot of people. But the reason that I'm here was because I saw a creative educational opportunity. Education of myself first, because I'm always interested in software. And I've been doing software for, well, so we'll just say 50 plus years. And not as a developer, but as a coordinator of developers. And so what excited me about this was that there was a need for a lot more order. And that's why I end up at places like the Soapstone, where there is order, rather than the chaotic games that go on. So that striving for order has actually driven me to want to develop with qualified developers like Seeing Blue, tools that will allow people to really learn and to experience things that they wouldn't normally experience.
Gotcha.
So one of our worlds we have now is where we have the Mona Lisa. And if you go through the Da Vinci Center, you'll see that there's some doors to some items that it isn't just the picture that we put in front of you, many times bigger than the original, but it's the information that's provided as well.
Yes. Yeah. Stop right there for a second because go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, by a show of hands out here, everybody in the audience. So if you're not paying attention, pay attention now because I'm going to ask you a question. Yoda, WNY in the house. Good to see you,
Yoda. Nice.
But I was just going to ask, by a show of hands, how many people have been to the Da Vinci Center for the Arts? All right.
That's awesome.
A good amount of people. For anybody who hasn't, there is a door out in the courtyard there. I'd strongly encourage you to check it out. I actually spent a little bit of time in there this morning, and I love the detail of the artwork, the descriptions of the artwork from all the different angles, and then also just the sense of like actually walking through a museum. Love it, man. It's super cool.
Yeah. And no, seriously. The narrative is so good. It's not too long. It's not too short. It's got great information. I mean, who picked the wording for the narrative? Because it's really good.
To be perfectly honest, I didn't do much of the actual work. And I don't in real life. What I tend to do is be the guy with the clipboard, sort of running around saying this, that, and the other thing.
I know that person.
I do a lot more building than I used to do. But my original purpose in being here was basically just to learn. And so I learned best from all the really super qualified people, and I started attending the courses that were going on. Continued with Seeing Blue's weekly scripting hour, which is on Thursday nights, and that has been, following those people that are really talented it's been great. It's just, and what an opportunity!
Boy,
you don't have
there's
to do
so much
special.
value in what you just
around.
said there, and if you don't mind, I'd love to pause on that because that little nugget of information, one, being open to collaborate with those that are more talented than you are, at certain aspects. There's a lot of people that are intimidated by people and in competition with people and don't want to surround themselves with people that are better at them at certain things. And being able to humble yourself and do that opens up so many doors to be able to create more together than what you could possibly do yourself. And then also, and this is Horizon World specific. There's a lot of incredibly talented people that are doing things like offering scripting hours, offering educational opportunities, builders that are super experienced and talented that are offering these things. And by getting involved in that, you were able to work with and collaborate with some really talented people. Actually, Yoda, he's part of Inspire Create Labs, and that's the same thing that we've done in the Soapstone here. Very, very little have I actually built in here, just a couple of little things here and there. But like general ideas or having the clipboard, like you were talking about, Lolly, walking around and having like an idea of what direction we're going. I've been doing that, but I've surrounded myself with, the greatest creators and the greatest community builders in the world, and it's created this space that couldn't have been done by any one of us.
Aaron, you've been one of the inspirations for me. I'm an older person. Let's just say I'm over 70. So me coming into here, I was looking for who are the younger people that are going to inspire me, and you were certainly one of them because you did have that overtly, so many levels. Your experiences have led you to be who you are, and so I have to appreciate even the hardships that you've been through because that that determines who we are and how we deal
Absolutely.
with it. So anyway, it's just great to be able to be here.
And you know what else is great about that, Barry? Beyond all of that, and you are in league with some really talented people. I mean, you're saying you don't have that talent. You have amazing talents, but you're in league with those people. But what you do that some of them I wish would do a little bit more is you do invest time in the community. You go out and talk to everybody. You're supportive. You come to shows. You know, you're available for people to help them. Sometimes the creators get very busy in their worlds and they're just all buried there, and they get a little out of touch with the community. So that's an added bonus for you. I think you're in touch, and that's why you can make those connections.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I appreciate you stating it. But one of the things that I've noticed is that the different communities in here are open to anybody being involved. And to me, it's been a huge eye opener because I'm Canadian, and we don't have the cultural things that happen in the United States. We don't have the same kind of divides that you guys have. So what it's done for me is given me an opportunity to go and be part of some of these communities that I wouldn't ordinarily have the opportunity to do. I mean, when I've been to Hawaii or San Francisco, I go to a hotel, I do the touristy things, but then I come home. But in here, I actually get to be a part of some of those other communities, and I learn the cultures. And being in music, of course, this is sort of headed me down south to a lot of the musical people. I met one of my idols in here, Don Preston, who is, of course, with the Mothers of Invention, and I was in the '60s. That was, one of my favorite bands, and I had all their albums. And here I am talking to the guy, and actually, he played one of my instruments one night, and I got goosebumps.
Wow!
Well, hopefully you can help us get him on our show. We've been trying to get him on our show.
I haven't seen him for a little while, but I know he's around because he's. I see him oftentimes. So I think it would be great to.
How many folks in the audience are musicians in any way, shape, or form? Kimberly Ann, wow! What do you play or sing?
Violin.
The violin.
And we all know I don't sing.
All right.
Nice. Well, you definitely have to check out the Da Vinci Center.
Definitely.
Yeah. So one of the nice things about being a musician is that I can now create music. I have a 4.5-minute introduction to an opera that I'm writing about Horizon. So all it is 5 instruments, string instruments, playing themselves.
Hold on. We have to pause on that because you can't just drop that.
I know exactly.
And then move
just moves right
along. I have a 4.5-minute intro to an opera that you're writing about Horizon, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
It's actually I was sort of forced into it.
I know people are always. That's one of the big issues in the world today is people are always just like forcing others into writing operas.
Well, it happens all the time.
No. When I say forced into it was like I needed for the Da Vinci Center. I wanted to have some background music that was indicative of an opening for a center. And I've been to various different openings in my life. And there's always been like a little quartet in the corner playing in the background. And so I needed to do that. And then as I was writing, it's about 12 parts that I was writing in Logic Pro. And out of that, I was able to pull out the parts of it that I wanted. And I realized there was this incredible melody. I'm not saying that I'm incredible, but I discovered an incredible melody line that I was able to put the words to, which is "I'm alive in Horizon," and then I heard a chorus of people afterwards saying "We're alive in Horizon," and I started to visualize this musical, sort of like Self-Specific in a way, or Annie Gun, but it was kind of that whole idea of bringing some real life to Horizon because we're all here alive in Horizon. Yeah. And even though we're cartoon characters, we're much, much, much more than that. And as I was telling Lolly before, this relationship that we have, this emotional relationship that we have with each other here, I had no idea this was even going to be possible when I bought a headset. So there you go.
Yeah, I love that perspective that musicians, and I know Maddie, you said that you're a musician as well, and a couple other hands went up about being a musician. But a lot of times, musicians do have that outlook about the art that they create. Not so much that they're doing it and they get the credit, but that they're discovering it. And I heard that loud and clear through your statement there. That's really cool.
And I love your instruments, the ease. I mean, you created these worlds where this just beautiful Berrytron is just sitting there, and you could just walk up and just create music. You know, you don't have to know how to play an instrument. You can just walk up and do that, and it's such a pleasant, relaxing experience to just be in there and play with that. So that's, I thank you for doing that, because that's really fun for someone like me.
The real pleasure was discovering that there is a three-dimensional world that doesn't exist in the real world. And I've often wanted to be able to play with ease in the real world, but it's a lot of work, and you have to learn all the different aspects of music and the instruments. So that was what drove me to do that, because what I was hoping, and I'm still hoping that this will happen someday, is that people will have these instruments and want to play them, even if they're just sort of playing in the background.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes community, is when there's music around.
Yes.
Well, this morning when I went into the Da Vinci Center, I got to play the conductor.
Right.
I walked up to the conductor wand that was doing its thing and just just kind of jumped in there, and I was really happy with the beautiful music I created.
Perfect, and you did.
Yeah,
that's the fun part of it, because we are all part of the same thing that does the creation. So I'm not going to get religious or anything, but
okay. Well, I have to ask you a question that I don't want to ask, but I'm going to do it at my own peril, probably. I noticed you had a world that said mental test, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Which?
Mental test.
I
know you have 186 worlds. Maybe you don't remember this one, but let me tell you it. So I thought, okay, this can be like an IQ test. I'm going to go in there and try it out. So it puts you into a cage, and these blocks are coming at you. Okay. So I thought, okay.
Yes, and I capitalized.
Okay. Well, so I'm looking at it, going, okay, what am I supposed to be doing here, right?
Sure.
And then I noticed I could knock some of them out of the way, and they would make a sound or whatever.
Right.
And that's all I could figure out. So
that was an experiment. I've done a lot of experiments because I want to see how people react. And that was an interesting one, because when you go into the world, you're immediately put in a cage and you're moved along in the cage. And I thought people were going to freak out, like it was going to be really uncomfortable. What I discovered is that people liked the order that was provided. And what I'd done is I'd taken a number of chords from Pink Floyd songs, and I'd broken them apart into the notes, and then I had sort of the heartbeat drum in the background. So when you're going through, you're actually playing your own version of a Pink Floyd song without really knowing it.
Wow.
So it was experimental.
So you're supposed to touch them all as they come by you?
You can
you're supposed
do
to touch them all?
You want. And the interesting thing is you can glitch out of the cage, and you can go down and look at how the display is all created. Because what I did is I tried to recreate a television set using lights with lenses in front of them, and a series of lenses, and then you can move them around. There's some more controls to be able to change the colors and so on as you're going through. Anyway, just a crazy experiment. That's part of what I've been doing, which is I'll experiment with something and I don't really have an outcome for it. So one of them, Lolly, you mentioned to me this morning, was called WTF.
I had to go in that one. It says WTF with a question mark. It's like, who's not going in that world? I got to find out what's in there.
So, and again, this was an experiment. I discovered that if I had a series, if I had a series of blocks on top of each other, and they were all set to have a certain kind of gravity, that when the world started, they'd start to fall. And then what I realized is that every time they fell, they would fall differently if the ground was moving. And so on the ground, I put a little mountain with a point on it, so that no matter what happened, they were always going to go differently. Then I started adding items to it. And so that's what happened.
Yeah. So from my perspective, you walk
along after
in and the world
after
shaking.
the build, or the name must have come after the build, huh?
Yeah, because I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was in their building and I decided to publish it because I wanted to see if it was different when it was published. And a couple of people dropped in, and that kind of was the first thing out of their mouths.
That's great.
So. Yeah, because you just walk in and you're in an earthquake. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
Yeah. So. And try not to make it too terribly complicated either. So, but those are experiments, and I've got a lot of experiments that will probably never see the light of day. But every once in a while, I'm tempted to pull the publish plug and see what people do in them. So
yeah, they are fun. You go in and they're just like little things, like the little things spinning around on the table with the blocks. And so I figured out if you took the blocks and you put them in front of the spinny things, they made noise. So I started moving them all in front, and they were just like cymbals. And it's like a musical instrument of sorts, right?
It is. Yeah. And to be honest, again, the scripting on all the stuff that I do is all done by other people. Burn Buns was one of the first people. Jim Puddin was one of the first people.
Two great folks
to sort of guide me through what was needed to be done. Mutz came along and helped me develop my first real drum machine that actually played drums. And so all of these things were, I've just been lucky to have the people around to be able to say, hey, what would happen if I did this? And they'd say, let's try it. And next thing you know, it's built. And it's just been absolutely amazing. So
it takes a village, doesn't it?
Oh, it's just been wonderful. And also being an older person that's maybe supposed to be retired, this makes it a little bit easy for me to not feel like I'm over. You know what I mean?
Well, I love the fact that we have every generation represented here in Horizon Worlds.
No, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's just a wonderful thing. Plus, earlier you referred to me as one of the younger folks, which I don't get very often, so I'll take it. Yoda's out there losing it. Yeah, we'll take it.
Barry, I wanted to talk about your photography a little bit more, because besides being this amazing, conductor, creates all this music and these instruments, the photography, which includes the Mona Lisa style photography that we talked about, pixelated art that's being recreated in here. That's something you're focused on. You're working with that, right?
It's part of the business aspect of what we do. I don't know how much I'm allowed to do commercial descriptions of stuff in here. Maybe.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I did is I set up a website.
Everybody stop listening. No.
Censored. I've been canceled. No, specifically, we set up VRX, which stands for Virtual Reality Experience, team.com as a website. And it was because I'm Canadian, I can't be monetized through Meta. So what it allowed me to do was take some of my ideas, ask other people to develop them, and then be able to convert that into an addition to my pension. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And so that covers a little bit of my costs. I'm going to be looking at one of two new headsets in the near future. I'll leave that for your imagination. But I do think that we, as creators, we have the opportunity to do things in here that we wouldn't necessarily be able to do outside. And having a little side business for me right now is really important.
Well, and that was one of the most impressive things that I saw when I was walking through there. When you're walking through the Da Vinci Center, there's that information booth back there.
Yeah.
And some of the business models that you're laying out there, some of the value propositions are unique and not anything that I've really seen in Horizon before. The idea of converting images and importing images, but even more interesting than that, the ownership stamp that you're able to put on it, the registering that image so that the ownership of that image is built into it and registered on your site, so that there's no question of who owns that particular image. That's spectacular. So you can go buy the Mona Lisa for $8. No.
Exactly. We were thinking of selling small versions of it, but I'm not sure people would want them. What's interesting, we did a picture of Mark Zuckerberg and his wife in high resolution. And what we found is that a few people have taken pictures of that picture in the world where we have it and then put it in their apartment, which was really kind of it sort of fulfilled my reason for doing that picture in the first place, which was to show Mark as a human being, a loving human being, and a father, and also the connection, because I think sometimes that's what's missing is the connection between the virtual world and the real world. And so that's kind of what I'm working on mostly, is that bridge, both with photography, but also registering assets. And registering assets, I think, is going to be really important, not so much from a legal perspective, but as an acknowledgement perspective. I've written music back 50 years ago and had professional musicians come in and play that music and just been totally flattered that they would even want to bother. And this was a long time ago. And so I have the same feeling about... Go ahead.
So here's the meld between virtual reality and physical reality. My wonderful wife, Renee, just came into the physical room, and she's now laying on the ground pretending to swim right where this couch is. So if I seem just a little... Hey, get off. No. If you seem a little distracted, it's...
Okay.
I think I might be being summoned to go to lunch or something. Either that or she really misses snorkeling in Hawaii. Oh, thumbs up. That's what it is. She misses snorkeling in Hawaii.
She misses the snorkeling. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I was thinking, if it's okay, Barry, can we turn it over to everybody who might want to ask a question or two here? Are you guys ready for that? Sturm, you want to hop up real quick and ask your question? And Matt, find him.
So I have two questions. You mentioned that you used to produce music about 50 years ago, and you had artists coming in.
Sorry, I just to give a context here, I played in bands since I was 15, and I decided very early that I would prefer to be paid if I was going to play. So I've been a quasi-professional musician for 50 years, and I stopped playing in bands about 10 years ago.
Okay, did you play with anyone notable, like anyone we'd know?
Yeah, but I really don't want to name drop because I don't think it's fair. A lot of it had to do with circumstances, like being on the same stage as, and I'll just do this once. No, I won't even say the name, but being on the same stage as somebody when they were in their early part of their career is very different from, backing up. Yes.
Yeah, but you could still tell us, even if it was the early part, we would still be impressed.
Yeah, maybe I don't care.
Well, we do. You don't want to tell us? Oh. Okay. All right.
Okay. Anyway, just various really good blues musicians.
Okay.
I live near Vancouver, British Columbia, and so we have a place there called the Commodore, and we have had 1 million of the most incredible musicians come through there, and so there have been times where my band was, a warm-up band, that kind of thing, and then at the end we get to play on stage with people with the last name King. So I'll just leave it at that.
Nice.
And I don't
huge. Yeah. All right.
So I just want to be careful because I don't want to be.
So can we find any of your music online anywhere?
Not easily. And there's another good reason for that. I am not really a very good musician. I was the guy in the band. With the clipboard, and I would make sure people arrived. And if somebody didn't arrive for a gig, I had to know enough about all the other instruments, with the exception of drums, that I could fill in. So, for example, if the harmonica and singer didn't show up, I would have to go in and play flute because I didn't know how to play the harmonica at the time. And so I would play the harmonica part on the flute. So I was a fill-in guy. And that's why I don't really make a big deal about my own prowess as a musician. I like the organizing part, which is kind of what I've always done with software development as well. And the software development goes back to the early days of electronic arts and various people in the computer business that I had the opportunity to meet.
So my second and final question: what has been your biggest challenge and accomplishment in the metaverse?
Whoa, the biggest challenge is wearing the headset, and yes, I bleeped myself out there. I just find the headset is way too heavy, so there's going to have to be a new headset that is lighter and better quality. Um, and I'm pretty sure the Quest 3 is going to be able to accomplish most of that. And I know that there's another company that's building something that will be expensive but popular. And my goal is to be somewhat agnostic, but knowing that this is social for um, for the metaverse, and that other company doesn't do social. So it only makes sense that somebody's going to create an app, just like they do for Facebook right now, that will run on that other headset. And I don't know why I'm being so careful, but I probably should be anyway. And just
well, you never know who's watching this show.
Call the other company Snapple.
Well,
Snapple.
So that's the idea, is that there needs. So this is my biggest challenge, is that I used to be able to wear this headset 16 hours a day. Now I'm kind of limited to about 6. And so I'm finding more and more ways to do stuff offline, planning, discussions, things like that. I'd love to be able to be here all the time. Unfortunately, my wife doesn't like that idea. So.
Yeah. And, I know it's a substantial investment, but I have the Quest Pro, and it changed that dramatically. There's the way that it's held to my head is through a band up here and a band back here. Yeah. So nothing's actually even touching my face. So the weight isn't of the headset that's like pressing down on my face. It's just floating in front of my face.
I think, I agree. I mean, the progress is coming, and like all technology, it'll all of a sudden have these huge spurts. And I think by the end of this year, we're probably going to have some more big ones that'll alleviate my problem. In the meantime, I mean, why aren't we? How far away do you think we are before we have a web version of this, so that if I want to do it in a 2-dimensional space, I can. And it may not be that far. It may not be that far away. I try and talk to meta people all the time, but it's hard to get detailed information from them.
Well, and they've made public statements talking about that. That's something that's in development, and they're working towards. So, if they make a public statement saying that they're working towards something,
Come on up, Maddie.
You can rest assured that they are.
Oh,
Maddie Cakes.
I'm sorry. Lolly looked at her watch, and I thought she was beckoning me, so I jumped up.
I actually was.
I jumped. I felt like such a jerk. Most importantly, Aaron, welcome back. I'm glad you had a safe trip. Hawaii is a phenomenal place. I've been there 2 times. Absolutely excellent. There is a guy in the crowd. Is he still here? No. Damn it. Oh, can I curse? Well, he kept taking videos during the show, and that biddy was driving me crazy. So every time he took a video, where's he at? Zach Dawes and Frater saw me. I would slide back, and I would do all these poses in front of his camera. It's so funny. BerryBerryNice. I totally understand what you're saying when it comes to the name, because I'm at 174 times of hearing Maddie Cakes, Baker's Man. I started keeping count around 19. I'm at 174 at this point. It's getting a little crazy. My question is about your high resolution photos, because I've seen notable people in here who make awesome builds. They have their photos up and everything. Absolutely amazing looking. I agree with you, Aaron, about the stamp that you put on it. I've actually had a piece of custom art stolen on here once, and someone tried to pass it off as their own. And when we said, well, let's go to create mode, they had taken my creator logo off, but I said, but you failed to take the one off, and shrunk myself down and pulled it out from the inside. I always hide 2 in there, and blew it up. And I said, gotcha. I'm not going to name names who it was, but I want to know 2 things. One, what's the capacity on those? Because they're really beautiful between the low. Even the low resolution is gorgeous. I love it. But in the high resolution one is just, that's like a picture, man. It's so gnarly looking.
So the resolution is calculated by the number of pixels, obviously, And the Mona Lisa, just as an example, is 900 text objects. And each
so it's all text.
Yeah, and each text object has 58 pixels in it. So hey Siri, what's 900 times 58? Oh, Siri's not. 52,200 pixels in that picture.
Interesting. What's the capacity for that?
Well, unfortunately, with pictures that big, you're really limited with what else you can do in the world. And so now what we've got is a lot of people that are asking about getting the ultra picture, which is what we call it, done, and then building the world around it so that the picture is the focal point.
It's the center stage, yeah.
And the experience can be around that. So
it's amazing work.
About 58% of the text objects. So it's pretty darn high.
But it's worth it.
The other thing is the Pro seems to be the most popular, and the Pro is a lot less. I think it's maybe a quarter of that resolution. So it doesn't take up as much. 26%, I think, something like that, or up to 26%. And then the very small ones, the basics, which a lot of people use because if you have good contrast, you can really get a good punch out of them, and those ones are they're just they're really easy to use, and they 2 to 4%.
And just to fill in a couple blanks for those that are listening that might not have checked that aspect of it out, he offers those images in 3 different sizes: the standard, the Pro, and then the Ultra. So that's what they're talking about is the different resolution and cost. Yeah.
And I apologize for any coughing in the background. My son is home from school. I actually tried to get him to come to the Soapstone, but he is one of like a million kids that does not want to come to the Soapstone.
Well, it's all adults in here. Look at them.
Let us know if he comes up and lays on the floor and starts pretending that he's snorkeling.
That's funny. I have one more question. So with you presenting this to Horizon, is there any inherent fear based off the inspiration of you making these pictures of people then introducing inappropriate photos to and getting that whole thing shut down?
The guidelines are very, very straightforward from Meta. If I wanted to create an adult world and I put a tag on it that says 18 plus, I'm not going to do it, but other people do that.
Right. I've been known
if they provide their own image, or even if they provide their own verbiage, description of what the world is about, it's kind of entirely up to them. And if Meta deems that what they're doing is inappropriate, they'll be shut down. It's that simple. I mean, chances are, if it's something really bad, it'll be reported, and then that'll go that way. I'm not interested in producing anything that's going to cause a problem that way.
No, not you. I mean, you being the inspiration for people to do
so. Sure.
I know you're a straight shooter. No, we've talked quite a few times, actually. You're a gnarly dude.
My good days and my bad days, but yeah.
But thank you so much for your answers. I really appreciate it.
Maddie, a quick question for you before you go. I know you put your hand up. What instruments did or do you play?
Oh, my Lord. So I have the unfortunate aspect of having ridiculous aptitude, like high aptitude tests. So every summer I learn something new. And one summer I decided I wanted to learn how to play piano because this is a fact about me a lot of people might find funny. I love The Young and the Restless, and I try to get home from work so I can watch The Young and the Restless, and they play Naughtiest theme every time Young and the Restless comes on, and very beautiful song. And listen, I'm a very masculine guy, okay? So, but I do love my soap operas, but I wanted to learn how to play it. So one summer I decided, while my children were young, I'm going to learn how to play piano. Just like one year I learned how to speak French. The other one I learned how to cut my hands and do that crazy whistle that people do. That woo, I always challenge myself every summer because if I don't, I get really bored. And when I get bored, I make bad decisions. So I try to keep myself challenged. So I understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
But good piano. Not
piano, very cool.
not incredible, but I can play a couple songs.
But enough to bring in the young and the restless. I got it.
Young and the
Isn't it interesting now how a song inspires people like me? I always wanted to play "Dust in the Wind" on the guitar. I heard that and I'm like, I need to learn how to play that.
Yeah.
I mean, you just do. Something inspires you, and then you want to play an instrument. It's cool.
I did, and I learned how to play Moonlight Sonata, which is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yes,
and, No Cien #1 by Eric Satie. So,
very cool.
But anyway, thank you so much for your answers, and everyone, don't forget the Puma edition is in the store now. So,
thanks,
right,
Maddie.
I know we're getting close to.
We are getting close.
Do we have,
Exterminator, I'm so proud
yeah.
of you.
Anybody else have a question, comment, anything? I see Seeing Blues out there. That's kind of cool. Nobody else? No comments? Nothing? Nothing? Okay. Oh, all right. Oh, go ahead, Storm. You want to say
I
something
have one
else?
question. It's a bit of a weird one. Your name says BerryBerryNice. Do you like berries?
Hey-o.
Oddly, I do. And my wife is. So I married my fitness instructor. Please never do that if you want to be. Anyway, so there's things I can't. There's things I can't do, and one of them is to eat junk food. And so what happens is that I'm driven towards those things that I might have enjoyed when I was younger. But I mean, berries, strawberries, these are all daily things for me. So yeah, good question.
Very cool.
All right. I think we're about done, right? We have covered everything. Let me see. Where's Aaron? I cut Aaron out of the picture.
Is this to make up for that news show that you got to cut
I'm terrible. No, Barry, thank you so much for being here. We were so happy to have you because you're such an interesting person in the metaverse, and so many different personalities make this place up, and it's, you're just an important part of it. And like I said, I love the way you reach out to the community, and you're such an interesting creator. And so thank you for being our guest today. We enjoyed you very much.
I love what you're doing here too.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for being here. I mean, I'm sorry that Cal couldn't be here and we had this dude we found, but he did all right, right? He did okay. He did all right. So, all right. Thank you guys for being here. Have a great week. Tonight's Wednesday, right? Today